Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. I'm Steve G, and what we have this time is the Murata Aogami Super or AS Funayuki 165mm knife. So the shape of this knife of Funayuki is kind of traditionally a boat knife or used for fish, but it's kind of a cross between a santoku and a more traditional pointy blade. It's kind of an interesting shape, slightly different than a santoku. This one is composed as indicated of Aogami blue paper, super reactive high carbon steel. Heat treat on that, they listed about 64, which is pretty hard for Aogami super, but figure 63, 64. But this steel is great. It'll have great edge retention. It's not very hard to sharpen at all. It sharpens up very nicely, but it has really good edge retention. 64 is pretty hard, so you have to kind of be a little careful with it because it might be just a little bit less forgiving, but you'll be rewarded with edge retention. This is an all reactive blade, so it's covered on two sides. It's 3-layer construction, and it's covered with soft iron, so it is reactive cladding, reactive core steel. It has what's known as a KU or Kudauchi blacksmith finish, and this finish, it doesn't have lacquer on it. It's just kind of raw, kind of a matte finish here. And it's a little hard to tell, but it does have hand-engraved kanji on it, so it's pretty cool. You can feel that. It was done after the KU finish was on it. You can feel that and see where it was engraved. In terms of weight and dimensions, these can vary a little bit from knife to knife, but this particular one is 133 grams or 4.7 ounces. The edge length is right about 165mm from the tip to the heel, are about 6.5 inches, and then the overall length a little over 12 inches, 308mm. These are thick blades. They're stiff, but they are pretty thin behind the edge. So let's take a look at the spine. It's pretty thick coming out of the handle. This is about 3.7mm. Halfway down, I got about 2.6 or so, and you can see it really doesn't thin out very much until you hit the grind towards the edge. So it thins out a little bit, but it's not the world's thinnest tip on it. You can kind of see that there. It thins out starting right there, but the tip's got a little bit of meat to it, which can be good if you want a little bit more robust tip on it. As far as grind, it is pretty thin behind the edge, and it kind of thickens up rather quickly, so this should separate food nicely and have probably pretty good food release characteristics. It's not going to be like a ghost laser performer through stuff, but it should have a nice muscular feel to it. Height's about 45.2mm on this sample. It's a thin neck right here, and you've got a little bit of space between the handle and the neck, so kind of a good spot for a pinch grip right there, so there's plenty of clearance for the cutting board. Balance point, this is an oak handle, so it's a little bit, a little heavier handle, so the balance point is just right about in there. So it's a little handle heavy with a pinch grip, but fairly neutral. Handle is octagonal oak, and it's known as an urushi or burnt finish on it. Looks cool. They kind of did the burnt finish and then smoothed it down towards the front. So very simple handle, but nice warm color to it. They've got a good tight seal job there and glue up job where the tang goes into the handle, so nicely done there. Fit and finish is good on this. The spine, it's not relieved a lot, but it's not sharp either. The choil, they've done a little bit of relief work on that as well. Out of the box edge, these are nice and sharp out of the box. The edge is pretty, seems like it's got a little bit of a polish to it as far as the grit goes. It's not a real rough edge. And I'll give it maybe 6, 7 out of 10 on my scale. Very nice edge. Although it'll get sharper if you do your part. Here's our beauty shots. So if you look carefully, you'll see the Kudauchi finish. It's kind of a little bit of a mottled finish to it. Again, here's your hand-engraved kanji, and then your blade grind, and then here is your core steel peeking out. Here's the left side of the blade. They do have some embossed kanji on the left side of the blade as well. And again, there's your grind, and then down towards the edge. Let's look at what this edge profile looks like on the cutting board. I did take a good look at the grind on these, and the pretty clean grind. Nice and clean when you sight down the knife to get a reflection off of it from the back, or typically the back, but back or front. You can kind of tell if the grind is kind of wavy or if it's pretty clean. This has nice clean grinds to it. So does the other knife I'm doing from this same line. It's a Kidetsuke 210. So that's good. It's consistent between the two knives, so the same line. So if you look, we've got a nice flat spot in the back here. Boom. It just flows into a pretty hard stop, but it flows into it nicely. Good, almost half the blade is a nice flat section in the back. And then in terms of getting up for a rock, I can get in that area right there, start digging in the tip before I start doing that. But so a little rock over, kind of medium, small stuff, no problem. A lot of great space for the chopping in the back. Tip draws are pretty nice. Push-pull cuts would be good. Again, if you like to chop, that back section's got a great section for that. So they've done a lot here with the 165 millimeter edge length that they've got to work with. And just a nicely crafted knife. So this is the Murata Aogami Super Funayuki 165 millimeter knife from Chef Knives To Go.